Hello and welcome to this SwiftUI video. My name is David Thorne. In this video, we're going to be talking all about how we can use the navigation stack with navigation paths. We're also going to be using the likes of the selected item for the list users. And let me just give you a quick demonstration rather than explaining it. So here we have a standard list of users, nothing special. And when we click on that, we go onto the navigation destination of a detail view as normal, using the normal hashable way. Now, when we come on random item, what it's going to do is going to take a random item off the users, and then we're going to send it to the navigation destination, the optional user or the optional hashable within inside of a binding. And that's why I've just put this binding here to show you it's a different method that we've called. I'll go through this in the application, don't worry about it. And then the other way, actually there's multiple ways to do this, we add three. It's basically going to take three items off the list and it's going to put them on. And as you can see here, we put three on, it comes back to normal again. That's all done programmatically here, these buttons. And when we just select here, this is just done normal using navigation stack, etc., using the navigation link. So with that said, if you're interested to see how I did this, let's get started. Okay, so as always, let's start by creating a Xcode project, and we'll just do iOS because that's all we need to do in here. And so we're going to say programmatic nav, right? Something nice and simple, and put it in the normal YouTube folder. Okay, we're just going to add my JSON placeholder package very quickly. There we go, and it's there now. So if you haven't seen me use this before, don't worry, it's going to be self-explanatory. So let's just go ahead and import it, and then we'll just give it a quick build. We'll change to iPhone 15, and we're going to create the JSON placeholder property wrapper here, and we're going to say users var users, and then a user. This is all comes from within inside my JSON placeholder. And all it's doing is just doing a request to JSON placeholder, and it's just handling everything in one go without us having to do anything else. Okay, with that said, we want to use a navigation stack, and in here we're going to use a normal list with users first of all, and we're going to say user just to get everything up and running, and we're going to say text user name here, right? And we'll let this run itself. And we have a list of the users there. Happy days. Let's just create a quick navigation title and say users. And now we're up and running. So I want to quickly create two buttons on there here. And we're just going to say toolbar here. And we're going to say toolbar item. And in this, we're going to say h stack. And this will become completely relevant shortly, all right? And we'll just make a button here. And this one is going to just be a text, and it's going to say random, right? And then the second button is going to say add 3. And we will fill in the business logic as we go along. But for the time being, let's just quickly do a print random tapped, and then we can say add 3 tapped, and we'll bring up the console, go to previews, and we can see random tapped, add 3 tapped. Happy day. So our buttons are working now. The next thing that we want to do is have a way that we can listen to the destination. So we're going to do it two ways, right? Navigation destination. We're actually going to do it more than two ways. We're going to have navigation destination, and we're going to do for value first of all, and we're going to do self. And this is going to say user, and we're going to say get user detail, and we're just going to plop that in there. And we're going to make a function here, say get user detail, because we're going to use it a couple of times. And this, when I spell detail correctly, is going to return some view, and for the time being we'll just say user name here, nice and easy, and we just fill it in correctly. So now we've got get user detail. The next thing we want to have is the destination, and we're going to use this other one, this binding optional hashable. Okay, and for this we're going to say selected user, and this is going to be a user, and once again we're going to say get user detail and user, and obviously up here we're going to need to have a state, and we're going to make this state private. Let's make this text a bit bigger. I'm going to say selected user, and we're going to make it an optional user. All right, so the great thing about this is, let's just close this down. The great thing about this is we've now got at the moment 2 ways to programmatically show these users. And first of all, we have to change the navigation link to value, and we'll say user, and our label can come back to how it was, right? And when we come here, we get the Leanne Graham as it was anyway. So let's just come here to make our user detail view, and we'll come down here and quickly create a user detail view. So user detail view here, and this is then view var body some view, and we're going to say list section name, and inside of here we're going to spell your view properly. We're going to have a binding, and this is going to be a user and a user, nice and simple. And you've seen this in other videos so far. If you haven't watched them, then it doesn't matter, we're doing it now. So we're going to say user and name there. So we only want one property for the time being, and here we can now say user detail and user. Right, we have to fix this binding very shortly, but it's not totally pertinent to this one video, so we're just going to say user detail view. All right, so now that when we have this, when we go over, we see that we get Leanne Graham, because we at the moment we are using the user .self one. All right, but this is where these buttons come into play, and this get random. This is going to navigate our selected user instead, right? So let's just say index here, and we want to say int random, and we're going to say 0 all the way through to users.counts -1. And once we've got that, we are going to say selected user is now going to be equal to users and index here. So we should now have, when we come to this one, get user detail, all right? And when we do random, you can see we come to our view, and let's just make navigation title can be user name. There, let's be a bit more explicit. Username. This is now the random one, right? But we want a way to add 3 of them onto it. So let's just say that it picks the top 3 randomly, and then we get Leanne Graham is the first one. We navigate back, we want Ervin, and we navigate back, we want Clementine. So you want 3 of them to go on, and we can do this using a state. First of all, I'm going to say private. Actually, it's more than 4 ways of doing this. So we're going to say paths, and we're going to do a user paths here, and we're going to say this here, right? And what we can do now is, within inside of our stack, we can say we can pass a binding to users instead. So now let's take our random one, and we want random 3. Okay, so we're going to create a copy of our users first of all. Remember, it's they're all just structs, and its arrays are passed by value anyway, so we're just making a copy of it because we don't want to change this one here. I'm going to say for nothing, we don't care, and we're just going to say then 2, 3. That's all good, and we can copy the same logic here, so we get the index of one of them, and then we can say copy append, and we'll say users, then index, right? And also we want to say, don't want to say that, we want to say we don't want users, we want copy. That's my mistake. We want copy.count, and then we're going to say copy remove at, and this is going to be then index. So we're taking one off of the copy, and then we want to then come here and say items, and we're just going to say users here, and so on. And once we got our items, we can say paths equals items. We only want it to be modified once. All right, we don't want it like modifying every single time we do this. So sorry, we need to say items. So we're making a copy of the users so we can mutate it, and then we are removing one all the time as we go through, and we're going 3 times. It's going to go 0, 1, 2, and it's not going to have 3 inside of it, so it's going to take off 3. And then we have the path. So now when we come to add here, we can see we get 1, 2, and 3, and then come back again, and 4. So sorry, we wanted 0 to 2. That's what we wanted instead. And when this decides to reload, we come back to here. So here's the first one, second one, third one, and then back again. Nice and simple. All right. So this is another way you can do it by using the paths here. However, there is another way too. We can do this, and we can say, let's just call it navigation paths, and this is going to be a navigation path here. Now, this array can obviously only hold users, whereas a navigation path can hold different types. But for the sake and purposes of this one video, we're just going to use it as an alternative method. But there's another video just inside navigation paths, but you can probably just play around with it yourself anyway. All right, so let's now take off the navigation paths. Oh, sorry, let's now come back to here and uncomment this. And now we can turn around and say navigation paths instead. And we want to say append. Can we do that? Append. No, okay. We're going to say here. Navigation paths append. And we will do it this way around this time. And we will remove items. And we will remove that. And let's come here, and now rather than saying paths, we can say navigation paths instead. And we add 3 once again. We get Chelsea, Ervin, and Leon here. It works exactly the same. See, so we can always add things to the stack in a different way. So one, we have just using pure navigation link, which comes to this navigation detail. 2, we have the buttons that we're adding it with the random button here, and here we're setting our selected user. So something could come from an external source or something, and then it could say, hey, I actually want to show this instead. And so this is a way to properly programmatically show just an individual user having a binding as well. Okay, but this binding that you've got here is still optional, right? But you still get passed by value user. And if you watch previous videos, you'll see how we can go to the user detail and actually pass a binding to this as well. And right now we're just passing a user detail to here. However, if we want to have a binding to it, then we can come to here. I've done this in every single video now. We just say users first, where the ID is equal to user ID, and we know that it's there because we've literally just received it. And the next one is new value, and we're going to say if index is equal to users first index, where this ID is equal to new value dot ID. Then we're going to update the users with the new value here. All right, and then we get the bindings, and we can pass this binding in as well. And now we have to just return the user detail. So now when we come to here, we can start editing this and coming back, and we get it edited as well. So we can see how nice and simple it is. And we say random, and we keep saying random and keep saying random. See if we get Leanne once again. And we're not going to get it, are we? Oh, there we go. See, so you can show that it's changing it nice and programmatically. So in this video, I've now shown you how to navigate to a child view, or this user detail view, One, using this navigation destination for the hashable type here, and then having this to use this here, and then showing the navigation destination here. Two, I've showed you how to use then a binding, an optional binding, a binding with an optional value inside of it. And remember, this one is only ever going to show when this selected user becomes not nil. All right, so it doesn't matter. This isn't just going to show when it changes value. It's only going to show when it becomes not nil, which means you can change it as I showed you here already. The next way I showed you how to do it was then having just paths, an array of that one type, and then we can change it to the path here. We can also have there's another way, selection with inside of the list view, selected user in here instead. And so now when we come here, this one, let's just come to this here instead. And we'll say v stack, and we'll put this here, and we'll say binding right here instead. So now when we come here, we see we broke it. Okay, let's remove the path. Maybe we're adding too many possibilities here. And now you can see when we do this, because basically that was Xcode, or that was navigation stack getting confused now. Are we using the paths here, right, because we touched a button, or are we using the selected user? Which one are we using? Because we told inside the list here, this is the selected user instead. So when we come to here, you can see we get our bindings with inside of our selected user, and we're not getting it inside of this. So if we remove our selected user once again, we say Lee and Graham, you can see we go to the normal view just here. And now when we come to random, you can see that we get because we're setting the selected user again, and we add 3, and add 3 is obviously we're not going navigation paths anymore, so we have to add the paths on and say navigation paths once again, and now we can add 3, and we go to the navigation paths, and this sends us to the user get user detail here instead, because we're adding users to it, and we're not adding optional users with inside of a binding to it instead. So with that said, I hope that you've got something out of this one video. I hope you've learned something from this one video. This is super interesting and helpful to understand how to use this for the likes of navigation split views. All right, but this was the whole point of this, was just to show you the business logic behind it. How you actually use it for the user interfaces is your own thing. With that said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I do these videos for you especially, and if you do have any feedback or any other ideas of videos that you want me to make, just give a short description in the comment section down below, and I'll try my best to create the videos as quickly as possible and as detailed as possible. Other than that, if you've got any questions, feedback, or concerns, as normal, let's start a conversation in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. My name's David Thorne, and I will see you in the next video.